This is the Real Estate Investing 365 podcast, your go-to source for real estate investing strategies so you can start living the life you want and get where you want to go. With your host, Justin Hanna.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Real Estate Investing 365. Today, I got with me Chris Prefontaine. Hopefully I said that right.
You did.
I'm not very good at reading sometimes or remembering. Chris is the best-selling author of a couple books. He's a real estate investor with over 27 years of experience. He's the founder of Smart Real Estate Coach and the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast. He lives in Newport, Rhode Island, I believe, and we're happy to have him here. Hey, Chris, thanks for being here.
Pleasure, Justin.
Yes, sir. So I'm sure lots of people have heard of you. You got a pretty popular podcast, and you're on Bigger Pockets and all kinds of different things. Just got done listening to one on Cashflow Ninja. I think you were just on recently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but if people haven't heard about you, why don't you go ahead and give us a little background and rundown of like where you come from, when you got in real estate and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that goes back to 29 and a half years or so, early 90s. So
Okay.
Definitely probably before your time, just a touch.
Almost. I'm 32, so
not too bad. All right.
I was around.
Yep, you were there.
Yeah.
We did a little of everything. The only niche I haven't touched is probably large apartment buildings. So back in the 90s, we did single family home building, and then that led to a franchise as a broker owner, realtor. I had never done that. And then we sold that in 2000 to Coldwell Banker. And so that was a good experience. And then that led up to working on our own investment deals and coaching others. And then the lovely 2008 debacle came, but that was painful, but it caused us to re-engineer the entire business, which is how we exist today. It was sort of built coming out of that to weather any storm, we thought, recession resistant. And then certainly with COVID hitting, it proved it. It really did. So we buy everything on terms now. No banks, no cash in, lease purchase, owner financing. When I say terms, just for if anyone's new. And then when we hit COVID, our volume went up 3 months in a row now. We're in our 4th month, we'll see, but I don't see it stopping because the banks have kind of clamped down on so many people. So that whole experience re-engineered our business to really be where we are today in a good spot.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people that they've their business is kind of taken off during this whole time. And like you said, the banks are we're buying a house right now with the bank, but we're refinancing 3 other properties. And man, the refinance is taking they said it could take upwards of 90 days, just.
Yeah. And you gotta be super squeaky clean too. Like the bank's pushing the credit score criteria up and the underwriting criteria. You got buyers that are getting blown out at the closing table. And then,
yeah.
So that's who we want. We work with buyers anytime. So for us, it's sad for some people, but very cool for us to be in this niche.
Okay. Yeah. And so when you first got started and you got into real estate as into the sales game, did you get right into the investing right away, or you just did retail sales off and on for most of the first 10 years?
Well, the building was sort of investing. You did one-off deals, right? You get paid, you build a house, you get paid. Didn't really get laser focused on all of our own investments only without doing other things until 2000.
Okay. Do you recommend people when they're getting in to get their agent license or try to start their own brokerage? What do you think about that?
Well, the agents are going to love me, and this big group that we train is going to not love me. But no, I don't think it's necessary. You don't need a license to buy or sell in most states your own properties, and so just be careful with that. Check your state laws, right? I'm not your local licensing authority. Yeah. But no, I don't personally think so. I resigned my license after many years, 18 years, and my son Nick, when he joined me in the business, eventually resigned his. It seems to us, it's our opinion, that it's a lot simpler than if you're an agent. And give me a direct example. You do a mailing or something, and accidentally it gets to one of the realtors' houses, and they freak out that you're trying to take their listing. I don't get that anymore because we're just an investor. We actually get more referrals from realtors than we ever did. So it's definitely not necessary. I think the CEUs and all of that, if you're not going to be in the realtor game, I just think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. If you're not going to be buying and selling a lot as an agent, to pay for all the costs, it's probably not a good idea because you had to disclose all that. And then some people really dislike realtors, I'll talk to a lot of people and they just absolutely, are you a realtor? No. Okay. I've had
The wall comes down.
Yeah. Yeah. The wall comes down. It's more like personal. So,
Yeah.
okay. That's good to know. So in 2000, you end up selling your brokerage to Caldwell Banker.
Yeah.
And then what do you mean by you just kind of went full bore then into like the investment and buying for yourself?
Yeah, so we were doing whatever was sort of hot then, and it was condominium conversions. So we would buy 3 and 6 unit buildings, 4 unit buildings, up to about 10, and we would convert those multifamilies into condominiums. That was kind of hot then. Started doing some commercial deals, and then literally, like you flick the light switch in February of '08. I remember like it was yesterday. Everything stopped. I mean, there's no funding. The commercial deal's gone. Values dropped by 1/3 to 2/3. So all that made us get real busy winding out of those properties. It was a mess because we assigned on them personally, and B, re-engineer things, like I said earlier, to weather the next storm.
Okay, so it was obviously a little bit different. I was obviously around during that time, but I wasn't really into real estate then. I mean, I didn't buy my first place until 2009. So it was like right in the beginning of it, but I didn't see the big crash or anything. So how much different was it than what people think we're doing today or what's going to happen today?
Good question. So there's a lot of differences. So that was very, very real estate driven, right? And loan driven.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is worldwide across the board. Obviously, everybody knows that. So there are some industries, I was just saying this morning, there are some industries that are booming right now, right? Inside of real estate, and some that not so, like VRBO and other challenges. But that wasn't the case back then. The issue back then was unless you had a lot of cash in the sidelines and you can go gobble up property, you were getting beat up if you were in real estate. There was no way around it. It was a national issue. So I think it's very different. I think the markets are still hot in a lot of the pockets. We've got associates we do deals with, about 80 of them around North America. And I can tell you, most of them are calling me saying, market's steaming hot where they are, not necessarily conventional, but for buying and selling real estate in general, people are not scared off. Rates are at an all-time low. All these things are different than '08.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. Like here in California, obviously the Bay Area, I have friends down there. It's very hot. And then up in Boise, up in Idaho, where we're moving to, it's like nothing's slowing down. It slowed down for a minute, maybe a month during the beginning, and then it's just as busy, if not more. And I'm refinancing those multifamily properties at 3.5%, I think is the rate I got, and then 2.5% on another house. So that's definitely bringing people into the market, I would assume.
It is.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? I guess nobody really knows, but do you think it's really going to affect the real estate market? Because it seems like the people that are losing their jobs, except for the business owners, I don't know if those people are really homeowners to begin with. They seem to be more, I'm not sure. I don't really know. I'm kind of isolated from the whole thing.
This is a broad question. Like I had this conversation, and then I'll come back to your question with Jarek Robbins the other day. He's Tony Robbins' son, and he said, yeah, like it was nonchalant. He said, yeah, my dad was talking to Ray Dalio. I mean, these are big guys, they're billionaires.
Yeah.
And they were saying how the only one thing certain is no one knows, right? I don't care how good you are, you don't know.
Of course.
So here's what I think. I think that I'm telling my students this. Here we are as of the time of this recording in June. I think the market just said to themselves, the buyers and sellers, oh, great, everybody's back, states are open. Now, as the numbers start spiking again, I think real quick, like in a month or two, they're going to start, the phone's going to ring off the hook again for us because the times are going to get tough to sell conventionally. That's what I think. So I don't care if the market's flat, steaming hot, or going down the way we buy and sell. It just makes it very easy for us to buy property and put property under contract when times like this are going on.
Okay.
So who knows how long that'll be,
Yeah, it's who knows. As the listeners know, I'm in the process of, I'm leaving my job and going like full-time real estate right now. And I'm thinking, man, there's never a perfect time, because when times are good, you're afraid to leave because everything's hot. And then when times are bad, you're afraid to leave because everything's going to crash. But so I'm not really worried about it, but it still makes you kind of question, oh man, who knows what's going to happen?
Well, if you want my thoughts on that, I would tell you do it because in Bravo, because most won't.
Yeah.
And if you want to crank your wealth up, just go in the opposite direction of the masses. That's all you got to do. It's not brain science.
I'm hoping that's the case, so we'll give it a go. So we'll see what happens.
You'll do it.
So let's dive in a little bit to what do you mean by when you guys buy all your property? It's like lease options or different types of purchases. Can we dive into that a little bit and explain it?
Yeah. Let's talk about the lease purchase only because for a beginner, it is probably the easiest because it doesn't require like any funds. Like $10 is written into our agreements the way we pre-did them. So lease purchase is this. I'll give you a scenario, Justin, but it can be like someone can be over leveraged, about what's worth. But I'll give the seller in this example a benefit of the doubt and say, let's say the home's a $500,000 home.
Okay.
And because we deal with all price ranges, and they owe 400 for the sake of example. So they have equity. What we say in a lease purchase is this. We say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're going to pay, we agree it's worth roughly 5. Okay, great. You didn't sell because you might have been an expired listing or for sale by owner. So here we are talking, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll preserve that entire 100,000, but I'm going to pay you that at the end of the term. And let's use for this example, 3 years, 36 months. On or before 36 months, you're going to get your 100, and I'm going to pay off your underlying loan. But that's not going to be 400 anymore, right? It's going to be going down in principal. That's our benefit. So they're going to get their 100 locked in at the beginning. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to pay the mortgage. I'm going to keep up the home, maintenance, everything. They don't have to do anything. I'm going to then put a buyer in there that needs time to qualify and do a rent to own. And so at the end of that, when it gets cashed out, the loan's less. I mark the house up. I get all that principal benefit. And I created what we call 3 paydays in that deal. 1, I put the buyer in the house. I get a non-refundable down payment. 2, I pay the mortgage every month, but I collect more from the buyer. And 3, at the very end, I have that principal pay down in my markup. So these deals in your area, I have a student that's doing these deals at like 150 grand a pop for all 3 paydays. We're lower. We're like 75 grand in our market for all 3 paydays. But I say that just to say these deals are super, super lucrative for a $10 deposit once you know how to do it.
Okay. And then I guess the new buyer pays you a higher interest rate than what you guys are paying on the existing mortgage.
Just a straight, no interest rate yet, unless we want to finance them down the road. That's another more advanced discussion. But when they're in the rent to own, all they're doing is a straight lease payment to us. They get no principal pay down benefit.
Okay. They're just
So
paying a higher rent payment essentially to you than obviously what the mortgage is. Okay. No, that makes sense. And then obviously if they decide not to buy it after the 3-year term, you still buy the house and you try to find somebody else to put in it, or does it go back to the original seller?
Okay, so it's not an option on their part. It's a rent to own with a definitive purchase date on or before. And how do we do that? Well, because most teachers teach, who cares if they cash out or not, just do another one. It might be okay legally, but morally and ethically, it's awful. So what we do is if you're my buyer, you're going through quite a vetting process with a RMLO, so you get the mortgage backing behind it. They're checking all your ratios, just like you were being underwritten today. Only piece of that is going to be, all right, Justin, here's your mortgage ready plan. You need time to save or time to enhance your credit or time for whatever the bank needs. Right now during COVID, this is especially important. You just need time. You'll be eventually qualified. So we lock all that in before we accept you. And you're putting a down payment down. So you're a buyer needing time versus a renter that says, oh, maybe I hope I can buy this someday. There's a big difference there.
Right. Okay. And what's usually the down payment that they have to put down?
Our videos on the website educate them to say, look, whatever you're eventually going to get your loan at, like if it's a jumbo, it's a lot higher. We need to get you there over the course of your term, but we can't let you in the house for less than 3% to start. And then they add to that as they go. Some people right off the bat will do 10%. But many of them run a payment plan even for their deposit.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I guess it seems like the majority, if they're going to have 10% down already, unless they have really just not good credit, they should be able to get a loan, I would imagine. But
so they go through credit enhancement. It's all part of the program. Like they have to stay in it. It's part of their agreement if their credit needs work. And then, so it's not like it's 100% of the time. I'd be foolish to say that to you on the show. I will tell you that 2 to 5% of the time, despite big down payments and despite a plan we put in place, life happens to some people. Death, divorce, job loss, like right now. This stuff happened. Everything you can think of to a buyer happened to us in the last, we've done thousands of deals.
Right. Okay. And then how do you guys find these deals? Are you just getting them like expired listings like you're saying, or for sale by owners, or are you guys doing marketing, direct mail, cold calling, any of that stuff?
We have, so direct marketing, direct mail, never. I know a lot of wholesalers, that's how they generate leads. Like I know wholesalers spend $10,000, $20,000 a month. We don't do mailings. If students want to play with it, they might play with $100 a month postcard or something, but no. All we do is have virtual assistants calling expireds, for sale by owner, and for rent by owner.
Okay.
Primarily. Now, if you're more aggressive in your market and you're not getting enough leads from those sources, then a great niched list that we love is free and clear property. About a third of the homes in the US are free and clear. It's a great pawn to fish in, so to speak, because then we structure on a financing deal. It's a whole different deal.
Okay. So you guys focus just primarily on this type of real estate buying, or do you buy and hold properties for like rental properties or anything like that?
Well, okay, so primarily lease purchase and owner financing, but do we on occasion get a home that we love and we may hang on to it longer? Sure. We out of 50 properties, we probably have 6 or 8 we're just sitting on. Okay. Most of them are set up to exit between 3 and 10 years. They're with our program.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I was just thinking if people start mailing to, the fully owned, no mortgage people that own the houses outright, a lot of time that's a great opportunity for people to get seller financing and then just keep the property as a rental or something like that.
Yeah, we do. So this will get, I think, anyone's attention. How we do the free and clear is this, because owner financing means a lot of different things. For us, it means you're my seller. You own the home outright. I'm going to structure no money down. I'm going to give you the best price you want. I don't even care about the price as long as I have enough years, because every payment I make monthly, principal only, no interest. So I'm hammering down principal. That's all to my benefit.
That's if the home is owned free and clear. It's
only if it's free and clear. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, so in a year, you could be paying it off 20, 30 grand a year. So that builds in a good buffer.
Pretty heavy. Yeah.
New buyers.
Huge.
Okay.
Because of that, Justin, our owner financing deals, like all of them, if you structure 4 years or more and the price is somewhere like 200 grand and up, you get a 6-figure deal all 3 paydays every single time.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So now I would imagine during the Corona times and all this craziness, you're probably doing a lot of stuff virtually. So how do you do it virtually without actually like going and meeting the clients and all that type of thing?
So far, we started about 1.5 years earlier, by the way, not knowing.
Okay.
Because we got too busy and we started teaching virtual, and our students loved it. So they do walkthroughs, just like you and I are seeing each other on video. They do like a FaceTime or something walkthrough.
Uh-huh.
We also have boots in the ground. So if the homeowner's open, we can send in an inspector or similar to an appraiser where they'll do a report for us. If not, we just make it contingent upon a walkthrough by us at one point. But then you use DocuSign and everything gets done. So it's been zero problem. I'll give you an example. I said earlier in the show, the last 3 months, volume spiked 3 times the amount of deals. So nothing's slowing it down. In fact, now it's acceptable. Before it's like, what do you mean you're not going to come to my house? Now they're saying, how are you going to get down without coming to my house?
Yeah.
It's acceptable, totally acceptable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then the VAs that you guys are using, do you train the VAs, or do you guys use like a VA company that's already like built for real estate investing?
We now have our own team. We didn't before. And when I say our own, they're not in-house. They're spread out all over the place, but they're trained by my son-in-law, Zach. So we just get too frustrated with people not getting the results that they want. And we got students all around North America going, I need a good VA. And so we just said, forget it. And we go to the pain of training our own. It's a lot of work, but it's more effective.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. There is companies out there that have it kind of like already built in, but like you said, they don't all know your market. You're not training them specifically. So I guess that's just another step in the business, right? For people to.
Yeah, there's some good ones. We still rely on it like for overflow. Like we got a lot of students. So if our VAs have no more hours, there's 1 or 2 services that we use that are pretty decent in the US too.
Okay. I was going to ask, how can a new investor become like a full-time real estate entrepreneur? Like what's kind of the steps? Should they just flat out quit their job and then start doing this, or kind of what's your thought process behind that?
No, similar to you, funny because you said at the beginning of the show with yourself, most of our students come in with a full-time job.
Right.
Pre-COVID, and I'll address COVID in a minute. And they say to us, all right, look, I want to do this. It's so lucrative per deal. I'll just keep it part-time. Others say, can you help me with a strategic plan that gets me full-time? Then that'll just depend on their own goals, their own overhead and all that good stuff. But usually I've seen people from 9 months to 2 years make a transition with us anyway, with our model.
Mm-hmm.
Post COVID, it's a little different because we had some students that had good jobs doing this sort of on the side for supplemental and purpose, who now converted are at home working, going, this is pretty cool. Like, I get to see my kids, I get to see my family. And then, so now they're getting a plan together to leave that job. That's happening a lot right now. As you probably know, all around the country, people are coming to us going, this is it. I'm going to do this full time.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to play out. It seems like, ever since the invention, or not invention, but the popularity growing of Bigger Pockets, and then obviously all the other podcasts like this, mine and yours, and all the other 20 million podcasts out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be real estate investors. So I wonder what that's going to do to the market. I guess it seems like there's a lot of investors out there, but maybe there still isn't. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's like any other industry. I think like HGTV made the flipping popular and it kind of diminished profits a lot. In my opinion, it's a job because of one paycheck, but that's a whole other conversation. But I think you can give people everything in the world for free like that, but then it just becomes commoditized. Mm-hmm. So then to get profitable, you really need to dig in and take that next step and commit like you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if people don't do that, that it's like any other business, they're gonna fall flat. So I don't think you're gonna see much change just because all the exposure's out there.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. And then, people will come in and make short-term money, but really in the long term, they're not going to survive or whatever, unless they take it real seriously. So
yeah,
I understand that. So what goes into like running like a real estate business full time? With the staffing and training and everything, should you hire more staff and try to like keep your mind as the visionary, or should you be deep in the day-to-day? What do you think about that?
Goal driven. So I'll say to my students, I think the best way to answer this is saying I say to my students, look, first, what's your goal? Like, are you looking to do one a month? With us, that's big money. But if they say yes, they can usually get there with themselves and a part-time personal assistant. That's it. If they want to scale it, I tell them find people that have scaled it. We have, but there's other organizations like that have helped us scale that can help them as well. So success leaves clues, right? Go find someone that's done it and then just mimic that model. So I'm big on scaling, but that's not for everybody's personality.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally understand. Okay, so why don't you tell me a little bit about your guys' school? So you guys, what you do, people come to you in order to get into this specific niche of real estate, right?
Well, they'll come to us through either, I'm big on free, Justin. So like either the YouTube channel, we have 100-something deals posted, like live deals. We show it all, we don't cut it. We have that, and we have the free books. They're not free, they're on Amazon. I'm gonna give it to your audience for free, but they're not free. And then we have if they go through the free and they go on my webinar and they go, all right, this gets my attention, I wanna learn more. Then there's a course, it's an online academy. And they can either take that and go off and do deals, or they can take that and say, I want to partner with you guys, because we do lock arms with students and actually revenue share and do live deals with them. And that's our means of coaching. So it's like in the trenches, let's do this deal together. Like I got a call today for one of our students in Ohio. He had a little challenge. He said, can you reach out to him? He said, sure, I'll call him this afternoon. So I'll tape that call and I'll send it to the student.
Okay. No, and that's great too, because a lot of times part of the problem when somebody can't get in is one, either they don't have, the experience to ask the right questions, which obviously you have, or the financial backing or whatever to actually get the deal done.
Exactly.
Which makes a ton of sense in partnering with somebody like you guys for doing this type of deal. Okay. So where do you see it going like in the future? Do you continue to do the virtual thing? Because obviously whether COVID's here or not, I mean, it's kind of makes sense and it's working well. What's the plans for the future for your business and then for maybe your consulting business?
Yeah. So for our business, we'll keep doing it like we are, because pre-COVID, as I said, we started virtual just from a pure time standpoint. So we just get real picky. I'm not going to say I was that picky in 2012 and 13, but we are now, and we can be, right? To pick the cream of the crop. As far as the coaching business, we tend to do the same thing. Like we're big on, if we do it, we'll bring it to you guys. If not, we don't bring you theory. So we're going to teach them to do exactly the same way we are. No question.
Right. Okay. Do you see like the popular thing in real estate investing industry, like changing, like you said, in the early 2000s, it was really like you guys were into the apartment and condo conversions. And then, I don't even know what it was during the recession. Then it was really, now it's like multifamily. Everybody wants to be multifamily or mobile home parks or something like that. What do you see that changing, continuing on the best asset class? I guess that's kind of a bad question.
Here, I think, remember I said earlier about HGTV? I think some of this is driven by popularity in media and exposure.
Right.
I don't think, however, so fads may change.
Mm-hmm.
And some cool niches might pop up. But when you learn how to be what I call a transaction engineer, like you understand the 2 or 3 or 4 different ways to do deals like we teach, then when a storm comes like COVID, you're not sunk, because all you do is start working a little bit different bucket. Like I might work heavier owner financing versus heavier lease purchase versus heavier subject to deals when people are in trouble. Mm-hmm. Right now, some people are hurting, unfortunately. So it's just a matter of pivoting and fishing in a different pond for a while, but we don't change our how we do deals, because this has been around. Like people say to me, "Oh, is this new? I haven't heard of it." No, it's been around since like late 1800s. I found it in books. So this is not new. We just put a system and support around it, So it's a long way of saying I don't see any major changes. You're always going to have these niches, but here's what I do see: people get the shiny object syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do something in real estate, those are all great niches that you just mentioned. Do something and stay with it for 36 months. Right. For goodness sakes, like. Don't do something for 6 months and then run over here and do a wholesale and then run over here and do a flip. Like you're just going to scatterbrain your whole business. Just stick with something for 36 months and you'll have a good experience.
I totally agree. That shiny object syndrome. I mean, we've all had it, I've had it and I still get it all the time, but really it just takes that grinding it out. And I think my generation or even before me is so, they're not driven to stick with stuff for a long time because they have everything so instant: social media, Instagram, microwave, everything's just like DoorDash, whatever, they're Uber Eats, everything's just so quick that it's hard to like have the sticking power to like stay with something when it sucks and just keep going. So
no way to do that probably is to get around people that have gone through it. I always say that. I mean, my wife said to me about 2 years ago, she said, it took you 50 years to figure this stuff out. Like, you got to go through bobbing and weaving sometimes, and that's what it takes. But so go find someone that did it, and then you'll learn from them.
Right. Okay. I did have another question about markets. So what's your recommendation on finding a market? Should you do it in the market that you live or markets across the country? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of people ask that. In our niche, I say do it right within a 50-mile radius of where you are, which means, Justin, you could do it where you are, or you could go somewhere else, right? You're flexible.
Right.
My son-in-law, Zach, said they're close by here, us in Ryan, but he said, geez, I could be anywhere and do this, especially now because it's virtual, and still target whatever area I want. But it's easier if you're local.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, and two, at least start in your local area when you're just beginning. And then as you grow and then you learn the systems and everything, then you can just expand out.
Yeah, why not?
Any place. Okay. So what's your preferred way of like learning new things? Because we mentioned a lot of different things on here. We kind of the lease option, the rent to own, subject to, you mentioned lots of different stuff. What's your preference for new people learning about real estate? If they're just getting into it, should be podcasts, books, mentorship, anything like that?
Here's a general answer. Like this would go for any business, by the way, not just within real estate, even though we're talking real estate today. It's number one, find a niche that you can get excited about, right? Mm-hmm. That's first and foremost. Like you got to want to do that niche. So whatever it might be, I'm not so naive to think we're the only one in town, right? So Second is then find someone in that niche that has done what you want to do, but more importantly, still doing it. Like there's marketers, and you probably run into them because you've been in the business now, that they were great 20 years ago, but now they're just selling stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a problem or it could be a problem for you because this industry changes too quickly. Definitely. Like what we're doing today is different than 6 months ago, and it's different than 2012.
Yeah.
So you got to stay current with that. So find someone that's there. And then third, the hard part is what I already said earlier. Stay with that and that person and that niche for 36 months. But make sure that niche and that person aligns with your values, your goals. Make sure you guys align. Mm-hmm. And I say that person. It could be a group, online, whatever it is, but attached to someone or something that's going to help you do that.
Right. Yeah. And talking to the point of everything moving so fast, it's like, you probably even find it on the podcast. If you like have podcasts banked up or whatever, it's like, well, 4 months ago, it was totally different than what we're going through now. So there's a lot of people out there that haven't done deals in 10 years, and they're making all the, like you're saying, they're making their courses and everything based on that, but market's totally changed. So I get what you're saying there for sure. Okay. So do you have like a certain technology or piece of app or software that you guys use? Like, what type of CRM do you guys use for your company?
We are big right now on FreedomSoft. We've white labeled our own version. So when the students come in, they get all our campaigns, all our follow-up sequence, everything's built for them. And because we heard that, hey, that's a cool software, but they got to go build it.
Right.
And now they just take ours and run with it.
FreedomSoft's kind of like Podio, I guess, huh? To where you kind of
Yeah,
build
we used to use Podio. We switched. So no offense to them, but it's really, FreedomSoft has done a lot of good things for us and our students.
Yeah, a lot of people have switched, it seems, from Podio. We were using a Podio system also, but now we switched to it was REI Vault, but the realestateinvestor.com is what they are now, but they bought Investor PO and they have their own like platform. And I mean, it seems great. It's like built specifically for real estate investing. And there's some other ones obviously like that too. So, okay. No, that makes a ton of sense. Well, Chris, where can people find out more about you and your coaching and all that type of stuff?
Because I said I'm big on free, I'll say two things. One is if they don't mind listening to me for another hour or so, it's free. Just take the webinar at smartrealestatecoach.com and register for that. Okay. I told you earlier, we're not shipping because of COVID, but I'd be happy to give all your listeners a free copy of one of the Amazon bestsellers, which is Real Estate on Your Terms. And they can just go to freesrecbook.com, freesrecbook.com.
Okay. Yeah. And all that'll be in the show notes and everything, and how to reach out to Chris and his team. Well, Chris, thanks. I know it's kind of short and sweet, but we had lots of information, and, people reach out to Chris and his team and read his book and then get more information. So Chris, thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.